Well, hello. Good Wednesday evening to everyone. Welcome to Southbound, an NFL podcast where two depressed Saints fans talk about the NFL and the NFC South. And boy, do we have some things to talk about with the NFC South this evening. So before we jump in, my name is Matt.
I'm the Quacker.
All right, Quacker. We got some news today. Now, obviously, this isn't like news because anybody who has a brain could have looked this up on their own. But it was released today. The first time eligible potential Hall of Fame inductees, and I've got that up on the screen. So I'm just going to read a couple, and then we'll talk about them. So this is just the highlights because, as Quacker pointed out to me off the air, there's well over 100. But leading the pack, it's this graphic has Larry Fitzgerald first, but Drew Brees should be first because they're both going to be first ballot, but should be Drew Brees then Larry Fitzgerald, but that's okay. Phillip Rivers, Jason Witten, Frank Gore, Julian Edelman, Marquise Pouncey. That's a hard one for me because he was in college when I was in college. So like thinking about that is weird for me that he's now been retired from the NFL long enough to be in the Hall of Fame. LaShawn McCoy, Thomas Davis, Greg Olson, Des Bryant. That's another weird one. Steven, I don't even know how to say that.
Gostowski.
I don't even know if I've heard of him.
He was a kicker for the Patriots.
Oh, okay. Geno Atkins, David DeCastro, Mike Pouncey, twin brother of Marquise. I did not know that they retired in the same year. I thought one of them retired a few years ahead of the other. Sean Lee, Todd Gurley, and Jarrell Casey. So obviously, before I get Quacker's thoughts on this, there are Drew Brees and Gurley both played for the Saints. Looking at this list, I don't know if any of the others did.
I don't remember Gurley playing for the Saints. I remember playing for the Rams.
Yeah, no, he played for the Saints before he played for the Rams. And let me see what years it was.
I thought he was drafted by the Rams.
Oh, no, you know who I'm thinking of? No, sorry, wrong guy. I was thinking of
Mark Ingram.
Nope. Hold on one second. I'll tell you who it is. No, the guy I'm thinking of was was Kyle Turley, not Todd Gurley. Yeah. Todd Gurley doesn't seem like he should be in there quite yet either. So that's my mistake. I was thinking of Kyle Turley. I wanted to say he looks like Jeremy Shockey, but then I knew you would say Alex Anzalone, because he's much more recent, obviously. But yeah, so Larry Fitzgerald, when I look at this list, I'll just go ahead and tell you my thoughts. I think Drew Brees and Larry Fitzgerald are absolute no-brainers. I think probably Marquise Pouncey, probably Greg Olson, and then maybe Jason Witten and Frank Gore. That's about it for me in terms of absolute first ballot guys, right? Now, there's a handful of these guys that I believe will absolutely get in and may get in on the first ballot. But what are your thoughts when you look at the list?
Well, yeah, I agree with you that with Fitzgerald and Brees, Witten, Gore, I was kind of going back and forth with Greg Olson. He was one of my favorite players when he was in the league. I really like him now that he works for Fox. doing analyst work. Like he's transitioned really well into that role.
Right.
Um, he was that tight end who just could do it all on the field. He was the guy that the offense turned to when they needed to play. I feel like he'll be borderline first ballot. Um, Philip Rivers, I think he'll be first ballot.
Really? I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he's a Hall of Famer, to be honest with you. Like statistically, I don't think he is.
I think he is.
Okay. I mean, there are a lot of people who do, but I would put Eli Manning in 3 times before I would put Philip Rivers in.
Yeah. I think Des Bryant will be one that gets talked about a lot for first ballot. I don't know that he gets in. I think there's kind of a log. I know for a long time there's been a log jam with receivers, so he may get caught up in that, but he'll eventually wind up in there. One of my favorites on here, Julian Edelman. I think it's going to take him a few years to get in. I don't see him being first ballot, but some of these players I had to look up to see who they like. I kind of remembered a little bit about them, but like I honestly I don't see the Pouncey brothers getting in first ballot.
Well, I think Marquise 100% will. He's one of the best at his position to ever play the game.
Was he the one to play for the Steelers?
Yeah. Now Mike. Well, hold on. Let me back up. I'm pretty sure it was Marquise, but the one who played for the Steelers will get in. 100%.
Yeah.
Let me look that up because I just said it was Marquise, but I'm just showing my ignorance because I honestly, dude, he has lost a bunch of weight. Yeah, Marquise played for the Steelers.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now I can see him getting in first ballot. But again, like for Lyman, it's kind of hard for him to get in on first ballot.
Yeah, but
Stephen Gostkowski. I would love to see him get in.
I just think with his he's probably top 5 all time, and so that's why I agree with you. I think that it could be hard for him to get in, but for anyone on the line, but I don't know. I think he's in.
Yeah. Stephen Gostkowski. I'd love to see him get in because he's from Mississippi, and that'll just be another notch in the belt for Mississippi as far as getting players in the Hall of Fame. He was one of the most consistent kickers. I think he's way up there as far as like the efficiency, like all time, as far as how effective he was as a kicker. He won 3 or 4 Super Bowls with the Patriots, but it's for kickers. It's really hard for them to get into the Hall of Fame. So, he's one of those that, well, let's see him get in, but it may be a decade before he does, or longer. But yeah, this is a list you look at. There's a lot of really good players on this list. I think it'd be fun to be in that room while they're going around talking about it. I've heard them say that like some players, they have like all players they have a representative, and they'll introduce the player. It's a media representative. They'll introduce the player, and then they'll kind of go over their stats and why they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. And then sometimes you just say Peyton Manning and sit down because that's all that needs to be said. So like Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, Frank Gore, like those guys, they'll have a very short intro. It'll just be their name and they'll sit down. But some of these guys, it'll be, a fun discussion taking place, and I would love to sit in on that, just to see the thought process of the voters.
Yeah, I was just looking at. I agree with you, but I was just looking at some of Phillip Rivers' stats, and I mean his yardage. He's 7th all time. The problem is he's 8,000 yards behind the top four, which starts with Brett Favre at 4. And there are some current players that are catching up to him. Matthew Stafford is only 3,000 yards behind him. Russell Wilson is about 10,000 yards behind him. We'll talk about him in a few minutes. Joe Flacco, same boat. So, and then when you look at his career percentage was 64 something. He's 8th in completion percentage, and passing touchdowns he's 6th. So, I mean, yeah, he'll probably get in. He was one of those guys to me that was never I thought he was very good, and I felt like he was, top 7 or 8 quarterbacks, in the league when he played. I think the problem with that, though, is that he played in a time when, you could argue that 5 of the greatest quarterbacks really to ever play were playing at the same time, and Roethlisberger, Breeze, Brady, Manning, and Rodgers,
Yeah.
Those guys were all in the league at the same time, so I feel like a lot of guys got overshadowed. So maybe that's all it is I just never thought about him as a top quarterback because he was playing in an era where there were just a lot of all-time greats all scrunched in there together.
Yeah, he had the weirdest throwing motion. It's almost like a shock put when he would throw it.
Yeah.
Just with that motion, but I mean, he was effective, and they won a lot of games with the Chargers. Now, they also had that weird thing where they were like first in the league in offense, first in the league in defense, and still missed the playoffs 1 year or 2 years. It was weird. Like they were first in every category, but they still were losing games.
Interesting.
It was the weirdest thing.
All right. Well, all right. So let me jump in, and I'm gonna read the results from last week, and after that we'll just talk about we'll just circle back and talk about what we need to talk about. So, starting out last Thursday night, the Dolphins played the Bills really close. The Bills won the game, though. Man, it seems like every game they've had is at home. I know it says they're 2-0 at home, so they played one road game. But they've got another home game coming up that we're going to talk about here in a second. But they win 31-21, closer than it probably should have been, given how bad the Dolphins are and how good the Bills are. By the way, did you see the comment that McDaniel made like Monday or whenever it was? So he walks up to the mic, the podium at the press conference. I guess it was Monday. He goes, "It's a great day, guys." And the reporter's like, "Why is it a great day?" And he pauses and he goes, "One day closer to death, I guess," or something like that. It was just the funniest. It's just not what you expect for someone who says it's a great day. So, all right. So moving on to the Sunday slate. So the Packers lost to the Browns, which is really surprising because you could make an argument that the Packers looked like the best team in the NFL in the first 2 weeks, and the Browns looked really bad. And the Browns won. Happy for Flacco. Delaware and Cleveland both won this weekend, so that's great. But that's surprising. We'll probably talk about that. The Colts, before you know it, they are 3-0, and they put a whooping on division rival Tennessee, 41-20 in Nashville, which puts the Colts at 3-0 and the Titans at 0-3. Lots of 0-3 teams this week, which is really surprising. I mean, I know that mathematically there have to be multiple 0-3 teams, but there are a lot of 0-3 teams right now.
It turns out all you got to do to be a good quarterback is just leave the Giants. I mean, Daniel Jones looked terrible for, what was these 5 years in New York. Now he looks like an all-pro for 3 games with the Colts.
Well, so we're gonna talk about the Giants in a minute. I've got some thoughts on that. So the Bengals lost to the Vikings. We're probably going to see the Bengals lose a lot more now that Joe Burrow's out again. 48-10 the final in that one. Pittsburgh beats the Patriots 21-14. The Eagles beat the Rams. They outlasted the Rams 33-26. Man, the Jets probably are the best 0-3 team in America. 2 of their 3 games have been really, really close. One of them was less close, but they lose to the Bucks in Tampa, 29-27, and the Bucks are undefeated. The Commanders beat the Raiders to move to 2-1. Raiders are 1-2, and that was 41-24. The Panthers put a whooping on the Falcons. I didn't see that one coming. The Falcons did not look good the previous week, but the Panthers have looked bad. In fact, there was a part of me that thought that the Panthers and the Bears were the only teams that were worse than the Saints, but the Panthers and Bears both got wins this week. So the Panthers win 30-0. Speaking of the Saints, they lost 44-6. I'm sorry, 44-13. Can't forget that last touchdown at the end of the game in Seattle. So that was not a good look. That was one of those games because of where I am and I don't have a Sunday ticket. I was having to keep track of it on my phone because the broadcast didn't come to where I'm at. And so I'm not kidding you. Every time I opened my phone, Seattle had scored again. I mean, it was like, what is happening? So that was not good. So
yeah, I had taken a muscle relaxer, and every time I woke up from my nap, they had scored again too. So it was
so we lost because you took a nap during the game. So don't do that. We only get 16 or 17 of these things, man. You can't nap during the Saints. Nap during the other window.
Muscle relaxers don't give you a choice, man.
Wait, but you have a choice when you put that thing in your mouth. All right, so moving on. The Texans, who are 0-3, biggest surprise in the league, I think, so far, lose again to Jacksonville, who is 2-1. 17-10 is the final there. Chargers win 23-20 over the Broncos. Broncos are 1-2, but they haven't looked bad in their losses, so I have a feeling they'll turn that around. And being a Saints fan, I can tell you firsthand, Sean Payton has a history of starting seasons poorly and finishing them well. So I'm not super worried about Denver. The Bears beat the Cowboys, and that was they're both 1-2 now. 31-14 was the final. My biggest regret in this game was that as soon as the game was over, people were like, "Oh, Caleb Williams is who we thought he was." No, he's not. Just so everyone knows, I think I have no problem with Caleb Williams personally. I've never met him. I don't care that he paints his nails. I just think he was way overhyped. Everybody calm down. This is one game. This is like when Shador had like those 2 series in his first preseason game, and everybody was like, "Oh, he's so much better than this, and he shouldn't have gone as low as he did." And then he like basically only made the roster because of his name, because of how bad he did the rest of the preseason. So everybody calm down with the Caleb Williams talk. I'm not mad about it. You can tell. Cardinals went to Santa Clara and lost a close one, 16-15, pushing the 49ers to 3-0 and the Cardinals to 2-1. Cardinals have looked pretty good. And then the
good
Chiefs.
For Mac Jones.
What's that?
It's good for Mac Jones leading that, because he was kind of left for dead, for better lack of words there. After his stint with the Patriots, I mean, nobody thought he would do anything, and to lead a comeback drive at the end of the game like that.
Yeah. Well, the comeback drive is good. His overall stat line isn't great, right? So it's 27-41, which is not a bad percentage. 284 on 41 passes is not great, and 1 touchdown is not great. But that 1 touchdown won the game. So to your point, I think that drive is a big deal. That's half the battle. Now just get the rest of the game. But I think Mac Jones he's gonna be a starter somewhere again at some point. All right, so I'm gonna skip to Monday before I come to the Sunday night game, because I want to talk about that. So the Lions beat the Ravens 38-30, and that pushes the Lions to 2-1 and the Ravens to 1-2. It doesn't matter. The Ravens.
Good game.
Yeah, it was a good game. It was a really good game, late too, and it doesn't matter. The Ravens are going to be in the playoffs. As are the team we're about to talk about, the Chiefs, who are also 1-2, got their first one of this season, 22-9 over the Giants. But something incredible happened as a result of this game. I've been saying it since the season started. Put Jackson Dart in. And wouldn't you know it, Jackson Dart is starting this week. So Russell Wilson is out. Jackson Dart is in. Why not? Let's see what the kid can do. Is he going to struggle? Yes. Is it going to be good for him? Yes. All right, so thoughts on this weekend's games before we head over to next week's games.
Well, it's funny that, Russ has struggled in two games so far this year, but, against Dallas, he threw for almost 500 yards. They didn't lose that game because of him.
Well, he struggled in two
switching
games,
out.
They've only had 3. So
I know, but and I don't remember his numbers from this past week. Let me see real quick.
I've got
they weren't.
Yeah. So he was
160 yards, 200. Yeah, that's not great. So, but the Giants haven't been great in a while, and they're kind of lacking on the offensive line. So I feel like putting Dart back there, he's more mobile at this point than Russ is. But he's gonna be back there running for his life. It's kind of like watching Joe Burrow drop back. Now he's dropping back and immediately having to just scramble for his life, and now he's out with a messed up foot, and it wasn't much better with what's his Brown, I think is the backup's name that's starting right now. You just every time you drop back, you're having to run for your life.
Yeah.
So they're not.
Go ahead.
Them and the Bengals are both. They're not investing in the offensive line like they should, and until they get that fixed, it doesn't matter who you have back there. It's when you're scrambling for your life and trying not to get killed, it's hard to to be an efficient quarterback. So
well, you're not wrong, but let me point to 2 things. So first of all, in week 1 at Washington, Russell Wilson was 17 of 37, 168 yards with an average attempt of 4.5 yards. Had a QBR of 29.9. 17 of 37 for 157. So, yeah, he had a 450-yard game, but who cares? Like, when you have 2 stinkers like that. But here's the thing for me. It's not so much about is Jackson Dart going to is putting Jackson Dart back there going to translate into wins? Probably not right away, but it's more than that to me. It's putting someone back there who doesn't think they should already be in the Hall of Fame and have statues erected, of them. And the other aspect, and I hinted at this a little bit a couple of weeks ago, Jackson Dart has got to see 2 very, very different veterans. He got to see Russell Wilson, who has a Super Bowl, who had a little bit of success in the NFL, is very good for a couple of years. By all accounts, under, in a system, But he also got to see, hold on one second. I want to look at one thing real quick. Sorry, this is we're live. So he also, I wanted to see if he was still on the roster. He also got to see Jameis Winston, former number 1 overall Heisman Trophy winner. And I was just checking because I didn't think he had gotten cut after the preseason, but I was just making sure. And here's the difference in these 2 guys. Russell Wilson is still trying to act like everyone should treat him the way they were treating him 10 years ago when he was on top of the world. But the fact is he hasn't played like that in a long time. Jameis Winston, on the other hand, former number 1 pick, holds the distinction for the most interceptions in a season. Or maybe it wasn't the most interceptions in a season, but he had as many interceptions. It was like 30 and 30 or something like that. I don't know. It was some embarrassing stat.
The first 30-30 season in NFL history.
That's what it was. But then he went to New Orleans and was a backup, was the starter for a little bit, was doing good, got hurt, and then, wasn't really ever the same in New Orleans. And now he's a backup in New York, knowing that he's just there to be a vet, not that he's going to get a chance to go in. And everything I've seen from him is great attitude. So if I'm the Giants, I'm thinking, all right, we need to put Jackson Dart out there so we can see Russell Wilson's probably not. I don't know this, but Russell Wilson's probably not going to be a great teammate or mentor. But you know who will? Jameis Winston. So I don't know that it's gonna. I get what you're saying about the offensive line, but I think this is more about the future than it is about right now, which is why they pulled the plug on Russell Wilson.
I'm just worried about them, because you'll see some of these quarterbacks that go in early with a bad line, and it messes them up.
I know, and that is a risk.
They get hit so much.
Yeah.
Think of what David Carr. He got destroyed his first couple of years because they didn't have a line that could block a third grade Pee Wee football team, and he was sacked like the most times in NFL history.
Yeah,
like consecutive years.
Well, it's
and
not
his
just
career
lines.
was.
It's not just lines; it's programs and the state of the programs. I mean, you could make the same argument for Justin Fields. Hopefully, the Jets will be his resurgence. Although I don't know that they're better run than the Bears are. But Justin Fields, Matt Leinart, you see these quarterbacks all the time, and it's funny now. You hear their name, and then you're like, oh, they were top 5 pick, and you're like, I don't remember them being a top 5 pick, and it's because their career was stunted by being on the wrong team.
Yeah.
Or having a really bad organization around them. So, I mean, I see what you're saying, and I don't disagree. But if I'm the Giants and if I'm Daboll, especially if I'm Daboll, because if I'm Daboll, I know I got 1 year. This is my year. I have to prove that this is my job. And I think the only way they do that is if they show promise with a rookie and make a playoff push. I don't know that they have to make the playoffs for Daboll to keep his job. But they start 0-3. They put Jackson Dart in, and then they win 9 games. Like, let's say something similar to what the Broncos did with I've forgotten his name now. The offensive, or he was the head coach, but he's an offensive coordinator. When they drafted Tebow, they put him in when they were like 0-7 or something
McDaniel.
like that. Yeah, McDaniel, but different McDaniel than the Dolphins guy, right? Not the same.
Josh
Yeah,
McDaniel.
yeah. So they put Tebow in. I think I want to say they were like 0-6, 0-7, something like that, and they made the playoffs. All right, and that saved his job for a year. Now, it ultimately didn't matter because in that situation, Elway had his own designs on what he wanted to do with that team. Whatever, that's fine. But I think that's where Daboll's figuring, hey, let's see if we can catch lightning in a bottle and buy next year. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Get to the offseason, build up your line, whatever. I don't know. But I'm excited about it. What other stuff stuck out to you from week 3?
Well, the way the the Commanders did miss a beat. Jaden Daniels is out. He's possibly out again this week. He said in his press conference today that he's practicing, but it's up to the doctors if he's cleared. Another quarterback whose career has been stunted because of where he was drafted, Marcus Mariota, came in and ran the offense efficiently. They scored 41 points. He came in and did what he needed to, and they're 2-1. They were my pick to win the division. They're only 1 game behind the Eagles right now. Of course, for the Eagles right now, they look unstoppable.
Yeah,
but
they're not going to win the division. The Eagles are the best team in football, but I agree with you. Kudos to Mariota and kudos to the Commanders the thing you have to remember about the Commanders, and we talked about this in the problem with them is not their quarterback. Like, even if Daniels is healthy, that's great. If he's not healthy, they've got Mariota. And I agree with everything you said about Mariota. Stunted because he went to Nashville to start his career. But the Commanders are the oldest team in the NFL. And so as the season wears on, they're not going to be able to hold up. Their young core will, but I can see them being a wild card team at best. But again, it's not because of guys like Jaden Daniels or anything like that. I just think, similar to the Saints, who are like the 3rd or 4th oldest team. Now the difference is with a new coach and everything, and no quarterback, it's a little bit of a different picture. But we're seeing injuries already with the Saints, and they're going to continue to pile up. And so I just don't. I just. It's hard for me to see the Commanders winning the best division in football. Well, it's not the best division, but it's a really good division.
It's top heavy.
Well, it's Eagles heavy because honestly, I think the Cowboys, Commanders, and I said wait,
Giants.
Cowboys, Giants. I had them in my head. I couldn't think of the name. I think they're all pretty even, but they just have different stages. Like the Cowboys are, I think, probably just emotionally reeling from the Parsons deal. I think the Giants have got to figure out what they're going to do with Jackson Dart. And obviously the Commanders are ancient. So it's not the toughest division in football, but it's a competitive division, right? Like all of the teams, even the Giants at 0-3, are being competitive in their games. So now I don't mean to like poo-poo on your parade. For me, I'm just saying, or to say what you're saying is wrong because I don't know any better than you do. But I do think that the Commanders are. I just feel like they're in a position and in a division that is not going to look favorably on them winning or having good playoff position.
I mean, it's hard to argue when they have the Eagles right there because, yeah, they do like the best team in football right now. Now if
right, but even the bad teams, the Cowboys and the Giants, could beat you. That's the problem. It's not like it's not like a lot of the other divisions where you got a team that's just chalk it up as a win. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I think that I think the Commanders are better than the Cowboys and the Giants. But
I think they have a higher ceiling, but they have to be fully healthy. Now, I don't know. They're not better than the Cowboys. I think they're better at executing. They don't have more talent than the Cowboys. But the problem in Dallas is Jerry. Jerry won't get out of the way and let the coach. So, and that's been that's been that way since Jimmy Johnson. So, I think they will ultimately have a better record than the Cowboys, but I don't know if that means they're better than the Cowboys.
Yeah. The Rams Eagles game that was one of the best games of the weekend, and that scores deceiving because the Rams had a chance to win it at the end with the field goal, and they had 2 consecutive field goals blocked, and the last one was returned for a touchdown. And the dude that returned it was named Jordan Davis. They said he had 18 miles an hour at 300 plus pounds, so he was hauling, and that was a big dude. Like nobody's going to catch him, especially on the kick team like that.
Yeah, but the Rams let the Eagles back in it because they had them on the ropes. I mean,
they did. But that was a really good game. It was fun to watch. The Vikings game, Carson Wentz set a record. He became the first player to start start a game for 6 different teams in 6 consecutive seasons. Yeah, I don't know if this is a record you want to set there, but and they actually had a couple records set in that game because the guy the defensive player who had the 2 touchdowns, I saw where he had done, and I was trying to take notes, but I couldn't keep up with when it was cycling through. His name was Isaiah Rodgers. The Vikings, I really kind of thought they were going to be so this year, but I mean they're 2-1. They look really good this game. Their defense is kind of leading the way right now.
Well, I mean, they won 15 games last year, and they did it with who was it? Sam Darnold.
Yeah, but Sam Darnold looked really good last year, and from what I've seen from J.J. McCarthy so far, he's looked good in spells.
Yeah,
but Darnold he looked more in command, which he's been around for a lot longer.
Well, right, but I think what was so weird about that is he looked more in command last year for the first time in his whole career because he's kind of a little bit of a laughing stock, for basically what he was supposed to have been. Now, again, start your career wearing green, odds aren't good for you. But that was the big surprise. But so, look, you mentioned Carson Wentz. That's a fun stat. So to put this into perspective, we're Saints fans, and I remember thinking in the 2017 football season when Carson Wentz was the starting quarterback and got hurt in Philadelphia, and Nick Foles took over and won the Super Bowl. I texted a buddy of mine, and I was like, dude, because Drew Brees at this point is older. He hadn't started to decline like he did in 2020, but I texted him and said, you think Nick Foles would be a good fit to be the Saints quarterback when Drew Brees leaves? And he was like, yeah, I think he would. What's funny is Carson Wentz is basically been relegated to a backup. He's floated around, and as Quacker said, he's the new Fitzpatrick. He goes somewhere, starts a couple games, wins them a game, or does good or whatever. And I can't remember the last time Nick Foles played a game. He may still be on a roster somewhere, but that's how crazy that what you just said. It just reminded me of dude, Carson Wentz looked like the best quarterback in football that year until he got hurt.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about him playing 6 years in a row and starting for 6 different teams.
Let's see. I don't think Nick Foles is still in the league. I'm pulling it up real quick here.
It wouldn't surprise me if he's not. I hadn't heard his name in a long time.
Last team, it was the Colts in 22, so okay. He's out.
So, I'm just gonna I'm gonna skip over this because it doesn't. I mean, I don't really want to talk about them, but the Bucks look really good. They're certainly the best team in the South. The Panthers thing kind of makes me nervous because the Panthers shut out the Falcons. Now the Falcons have not looked great.
Yeah.
But the Panthers looked atrocious. And so that makes me a little nervous. Here's the thing. I'm not the fan, and I don't think Quacker is either, but I'm not the fan who wants my team to lose every game and get the first pick. I am proud to say, I know it's happened in my lifetime, but I'm proud to say that since I've cared about pro football, which is basically from 2002 or 3 on, somewhere in my high school days, that the Saints have never had the first pick in that time. Now, they have had the second pick, and they got Reggie Bush out of it because the Texans, for whatever reason, chose not to take him. They have not had the first pick. The Panthers doing what they did and the Bears doing what they did, that worries me. That worries me a little
bit. I mean, it's just going to be a case of, 2 bad teams playing and one just playing better on that day. The Falcons, as Saints fans, that's our most hated rival, right? And so, anytime they lose,
I'm the only Saints fan who says this, but the Falcons are my least hated NFC South team. I still hate them, but I hate them the least.
I remember when they were playing the Patriots in the Super Bowl, and I remember texting our cousin who's a Patriots fan before the game. I said, I hope the Falcons lose in such a way that their franchise never recovers. And it's kind of come true because they've been through. They're on their 3rd coach since that Super Bowl. The franchise has floundered pretty bad, but it's kind of rebounded on us a little bit since Breeze is retired. But the Panthers, they have floundered terribly since that Super Bowl where they lost to Denver. I don't know that they even made the playoffs since then. So,
well, the Panthers have only had 3 truly good seasons in their existence. since what, 95 or 96, whenever it was. Either the first or second year they were a team, they made it to either the divisional round or the NFC Championship. But what was weird about that is the Jags who also came in at the same time, also made it to the conference championship game. Because there was talk about an all-expansion Super Bowl, which would have been, like, wild. It didn't happen, obviously. But, the Panthers, I mean, when you look at the teams in the NFC South, the Panthers have had the least success. When you step when you step away from the Panthers and start talking about the rest of the NFC South, they've all had this, like, ebb and flow. I think the Falcons' ebb and flow has been a little bit more extreme, like you said, like either making it all the way to the Super Bowl like they've done a handful of times in the 21st century, but then lots of down years. And as a result of the Breeze and Peyton era, the Bucs have had, obviously they've won a couple Super Bowls, but they've also had terrible years, and then pretty quickly they're back in the playoffs or playoff conversation, every 3, 4, 5 years. And the Saints had their run from, like, because after they won the Super Bowl, they missed the playoffs a couple years, and then they won the division, like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years in a row, something like that. And so it's funny because the NFC South, what was it, 2001 was the first year of this, the way the divisions are now in the NFL?
Yeah, somewhere under, yeah.
Yeah, so since then, the Bucs and the Saints the Saints have won the most, the Bucs have won the second most, the Falcons have won the third most, and the Panthers, I think, have only done it, like, 4 or 5 times. So, yeah, they but yeah, I mean, to your point, like, so speaking about that Super Bowl where they lost that game, I wanted the Patriots to win the game because I don't go so far as to cheer for the Falcons, but I liked Matt Ryan and I like Arthur Blank, and so, like, it's hard, like, while they're like a big rival, I couldn't get behind the hatred because I like their quarterback and I like their owner. You know what I mean? But I know that's, like, sacrilegious to say that as a Saints fan, but it is what it is.
I guess if you grew up a few hours away, you weren't quite as inundated with it as those, like I'm a lot closer. There's a lot. Well, I mean, there's a lot of Saints fans where you grew up too, because that was.
Well, where I grew up, it was basically all Saints fans with a few Falcons fans and a few Bucs fans. But, and then, later in, like, maybe in high school, you started seeing Jags fans, but I was in 4th grade when the Jags came in. So, I mean, fans took a while to kind of take to them. But no, I mean, I was acutely aware of the hatred. My dad used to tell me all the time that, that for years it was the Rams and the Falcons were the teams, that you just, if you're a Saints fan, you don't like them. Now, the Saints also have the distinction of, they're not the only NFL team to do this, but I'm proud of this. See, the Saints had some really good teams in the 90s with the Dome Patrol and some of those others. But they, in their franchise history, had never won a playoff game until 2000, when Jim Haslett and was it the Billy Rays? I think it was the two, or Billy Joes, or whatever their names were. We had 2 quarterbacks with the same first and middle name, Billy Ray or Billy
Aaron
Joe.
Brooks.
No. That not in 2000. I think he was like 2000, because he was there from like 3 to 5. 2 to 5, something like that. I think it was Billy Joe Tolliver. But regardless of who it was, in 2000, Jim Haslett took them to St. Louis for the last game of the season, and they they beat the Rams, which got them in the playoffs to play the Rams. So they stayed there. They stayed in St. Louis, played the very next week in the wild card round, and got their first ever playoff win in St. Louis. So, did you figure out who it was?
It's Air Brooks.
I thought he didn't. Brooks. I thought he didn't start till like 2002 or 2003. Was he the starter for 5 years?
Yeah.
Gosh, that seems like a long time. I thought he was only the quarterback for 2 or 3 years. That is way longer than I thought he was there.
Cousin of Michael Vick.
Yeah, I knew that, but yeah, I mean it was 25 years ago. So, all right. So let's as we wrap up, let's go and talk about Week 4 matchups. I'll go ahead and let you know that the Saints are going to Orchard Park to play the Bills. So go ahead and take your muscle relaxers this week. This week's a good week to not watch. This is that's not going to be good. So Saints are going to start 0-4. I was looking at their schedule, and I counted, and I was trying to be as realistic as possible. I counted 7 wins on their schedule, and that was yesterday when I was looking at it. Because they're the front half of their schedule, I think next week they play another, I don't remember who it is, but they play another tough team. Let me see. And then so this week is the week I was thinking of. So it starts to get a lot easier. You play the Giants, Patriots, and Bears, which are all winnable. I'm not saying they will win them all, but they're all winnable. Then they play the Buccaneers. They're not going to win that game. Maybe because it's at home and it's division, they might sneak one out, but I doubt it. Rams, you never know with that one, but it's the Saints and Rams have kind of a weird history. Panthers is a toss-up. Falcons is a toss-up. Dolphins is a toss-up. At Tampa is a loss. Panthers again is a toss-up. Jets are toss-up. Titans, Falcons, toss-up. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of their 13 remaining games are winnable. And I didn't count them all as wins. But you see that like Cardinals, 49ers, Seahawks, Bills. I thought Cardinals were winnable. I didn't really think the other 3 were. So I do think things are going to get better for the Saints. But they're not going to get better this week because they're playing the Bills. And please don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that the Saints are going to make it to the playoffs or win 11 games. I am saying on their schedule as it stands now, they have 11 winnable games is all I'm saying. So we'll see. All right. So let me read off the schedule for next week, and you just tell me if there's any games you're interested in. Seahawks and Cardinals start us off in Glendale. That is on Thursday.
Should be a good one.
Yeah. Which by the way, I do want to say this, and we're not going to linger on this because we're not going to talk about things outside of sports. But I do want to send kudos, regardless of how you feel about anything. Don't get your pants in a wad about what I'm about to say. Kudos to Glendale, the community, and the stadium, State Farm Stadium, for accommodating and putting together the allowing to be put together the memorial for Charlie Kirk. And again, all I'm saying is, regardless of what side of an aisle you sit on, that was an awesome thing for them to do as a beacon of a community, and that such a recognizable stadium that's had national championship games, and so kudos to them for that. And now 4 days later from that event, they've got a football game, so that's cool. So Vikings are going to the Steelers, Commanders are going to Atlanta, Browns are going to the Lions, Saints are going to the Bills, Panthers are going to the Patriots. These are all 1 o'clock, by the way. Chargers are going to the Giants, Eagles going to the Bucks, Titans going to the Texans. Then in the late window, Colts at Rams. That'll be a good one. Jaguars are going to Santa Clara to play the 49ers. Ravens and Chiefs, 2 1-2 teams that will both be in the playoffs. I can almost guarantee it. I want to watch that game even if they are 1-2. Last game in the afternoon window, Bears at Raiders. And then the Sunday night game. This is a classic Sunday night game. Packers at Cowboys. Also, said another way, Micah Parsons' return to Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
So must-see TV all the way around, and the narrative is going to be that the Cowboys are going to want to do everything they can to win this game, and they might. They also might not. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out. And then I think there's one more doubleheader, Monday night doubleheader after this, but this is the second, I know. So 7:15 Eastern, the Jets will play Miami in Miami. That's the battle of 0-3s. Something's got to give. Give me the Jets to win this game. And then at 8:15 Eastern on ABC, that's the ESPN game, the Jets-Dolphins. Then 8:15 is the Bengals and the Broncos. And it's kind of unfortunate for Monday Night Football because, they schedule these during the offseason, but Jets and Dolphins is not going to be a good game. And you got to think, well, I'm sorry, let me back up. It might be a good game, but it's going to be a game that only the fans are watching because it's 0-3 versus 0-3. So Miami decided to wear their rivals' uniform. They're wearing I thought it was black, but apparently it's dark navy. They're wearing their dark uniforms. Their special uniforms for this Monday night game. So maybe they're doing that to get some views because if you're not a Jets or Dolphins fan, who wants to watch this game? But they put that one on ESPN, and then they put on ABC, which is generally, if you have a game on ESPN and ABC, generally the ABC game is the higher tier game, college or pro. But it's the Bengals and the Broncos, and the problem is it's the Joe Burrow-less Bengals. That one probably looked really good before the season, but it's the Joe Burrow-less Bengals who are 2-1, and the 1-2 Broncos. So I feel bad for the Monday Night Football slate because they kind of walked into two matchups that looked a lot better before the season started.
Yeah, I saw a tweet that had these two games on there said if you have plans on Monday night, don't change them.
Yeah.
Now one game that you mentioned, the Vikings Steelers, that's actually in Dublin. That's at 8:30 a.m. That's one of those.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, the ticket price. I always have to look at the ticket prices, and
ticket prices.
I almost did a spit take on this because the tickets are as low as $799.
Well, yeah, but you have to remember it's probably a hot ticket because a lot of the Europeans are like, might as well go watch it and see what it's like, and plus the euro is like 1.5 or something of the dollar. So, I say the euro, Dublin, and I don't know this, I'm not an expert. Dublin may actually still be on the pound, because England uses the pound. So I don't know if that's all across the United Kingdom or not, but I know that England uses it. Pretty sure Scotland uses it. So. I don't even know, but the pound is of higher value even than the euro. So, all those factors together. That game is in Dublin. Only thing that sucks about that is it's hard to watch a game that early on a Sunday.
Yeah, and not only that, you have to have the NFL Network or NFL Plus to watch it too. So it's you have to have those services in order to watch it. It's kind of a weekend here. I mean, like we'll know, like with the Eagles Buccaneers, I think that's going to end up being a really good game. We'll know a little bit more about both teams at the end of that one, as far as are the Buccaneers a threat to maybe make a trip back to the Super Bowl this year, or are the Eagles just heads and tails that much above everybody?
Well, I think there's it's way too early to say this definitively, but I think there's a real possibility that this is the NFC Championship game. Is the Eagles?
I just remembered, Mike Evans is going to be missing this game, so we won't see the Buccaneers at full strength. So I think he's got a hamstring injury. So
And
this
that's
this
good
is
for the
one.
Eagles. That's lucky for the Eagles. He like never misses games.
Yeah.
So
Um. Yeah. The Colts Rams. I think that'll be a good one
mhm.
to watch. But I'm with you. The Ravens Chiefs in that late window or the afternoon window. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing there
Oh yeah.
because we think both teams are still really good. I think that's the Chiefs. Of course, they've had a lot of injuries to start the season. Um,
I mean, they're both
you know,
they're both going to be playoff teams. One of them will probably have a bye. I mean, I think it was just a couple of years ago, maybe the first of their repeat Super Bowl years might have been the year the Chiefs started like 7-5 or something like that, and then either won the Super Bowl or went to it and lost. So these teams like this, like not the Saints, but these teams in the NFL, they can start poorly and wind up having great seasons. And I don't mean the Saints at large. The Saints did that in 2018, had, one of the best teams in the NFL, started 0-2, didn't lose again until Thanksgiving. And then had one of the, worst coverage busts in the history of coverage busts to lose to Minnesota to end their season. So, but that wasn't my point. My point was you can start off bad and get hot,
yeah. I think that's going to be a game. Like one of those teams is going to be 1-3 at the end of it, and that's going to put them in a bit of a hole. But they can still get hot, and one of the things that's hurting the Ravens right now is Derrick Henry, which is hard to believe, but he's had some fumble problems. He's never had fumble problems before, but
doesn't he only have 2 fumbles this year? It's just that they were both in big moments.
It's at least 2. I don't remember.
I mean, like I'm not trying to say 2 fumbles for a guy like Derrick Henry in 3 games is nothing. But I do think that, like, I don't know it for certain, but I'm pretty sure he's only had 2.
He's had 3 and he's lost 2.
3. Okay. Well, yeah. So
yeah,
but those 2 that he lost were in critical moments. So
yes.
Yeah, but the Ravens are going to get it turned around. By the way, look for the Raiders to win big against the Bears this weekend. I
think so.
I'm a big believer in Pete Carroll. They looked really good in their win. The Raiders are not a bad team. The Bears are a bad team, and it's in Las Vegas, so I expect the Raiders to win this one. And by the way, what's that?
I was going to say the Bears are the betting favorite right now, not by much, but they are the betting favorite.
Yeah, well, so was the University of South Alabama, if you remember that. Here's the thing. Pete Carroll is a really, really good coach, and I just want to say this because I feel like I trash the Bears a lot. I don't think the Bears are a very good run organization. However, I am one of those fans who firmly believes, and I don't believe this about every organization like the Cowboys, but I firmly believe that the NFL is better like when the Packers and the Bears are great. So I love seeing the Bears good. But the reality is they're not good right now, and so I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Just like I've been trashing on the Saints. The Saints are not a very good team.
No.
And that is what it is.
They won't be until they have to, until they replace Mickey Loomis. That's,
well, yeah.
It's just one of those things. During his prime, I don't think there was a better GM in the league. I mean, he had some really great draft classes. In part of the Saints' problem now is he kept shuffling money. He would
restructuring the contracts.
Restructure and stuff, and they just kept getting more and more into that hole. And but Saints fans didn't have a problem with it, and the national media didn't have a problem with it because they had Breeze and Peyton, and they were always in the Super Bowl window.
Well, he was doing it to preserve the core of a really great roster that's now old.
Yes, Yeah, and that's why nobody had a problem with it at that time. But he's still doing it. But now the Saints roster is not a great roster. The line is struggling like crazy. You know, and that's affecting quarterback play because, like I was talking about with the Giants and the Bengals. If you're every time you're dropping back, you're having to scramble around and run for your life, then it's hard to be an efficient quarterback.
Well, the line didn't play good Sunday, but they've played pretty good most of the first two games. And to the point of, like, I agree with you. Mickey Loomis needs to go. But I will say, to his credit, he is only restructuring a handful of deals now. I mean, he was doing it a bunch, like 7 or 8 of your highest paid players he was restructuring every year. And like Quacker said, there was a good reason for it because you had a Super Bowl like caliber roster. Some of those players are retired now. And the players that aren't, like, I love DeMario Davis. I love Cam Jordan, but they're old. Taysom Hill, we have yet to see this year. He's probably got 2 or 3 more good years in him. I have no issue with that. I have no issue with Kamara. So, in my opinion, restructure a way to keep those two until they retire, because I would like to see them both retire Saints, and I think they probably would as well. But that's it. And I, if I remember correctly, and I don't fully remember, but I think he only restructured either Kamara and Hill or just Hill during the offseason. So he is still doing it, but he is, to his credit, I will say he's doing it less, but I think we're just paying for all of those near Super Bowl shots,
Yeah.
And so,
Now,
but
I do think this is Davis and Jordan's last season.
I mean,
I think
it
this
probably is, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, DeMario Davis you can make the argument he's still playing like he's in his prime, but he's in his late 30s,
Yeah.
So, okay, or maybe he's in his mid 30s, but he's a linebacker, so that's still
Yeah.
old for a linebacker. So,
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that. Before we jump off here, I want to hit one thing. When do you think it's time to give Shuck a shot? And I want to qualify that question before you answer it. I like Spencer Rattler, and I think he impresses everyone, and I like the way he carries himself, and there's no doubt he throws a really pretty ball. But he was drafted in the 5th round last year. Shuck was drafted in the 2nd round this year. It's fine that Rattler won the job. I'm fine with that. But at a certain point, don't you want to see what a 2nd round value pick gives you? Because he wasn't a 2nd round pick. The Saints reached to get him in the 2nd round. And so, in my opinion, I would say, the Saints are going to take another loss this week for sure. So maybe you give Rattler 1 to 2 more weeks, let him get a win or something, and then once we're good into the season and we kind of know what this team is. I mean, we confirm what we already knew about this team. I think you give Shuck a shot personally, but I want to hear your opinion on it.
When you say that you reached on him, what do you mean? You
I
don't
mean,
think he was
he was not valued as a 2nd round pick. He was valued as I don't know. I think Kuiper had him in the 3rd or 4th round. But they got him early 2nd round.
So I thought he was projected to be one of the top quarterbacks picked.
Well, there weren't a lot of quarterbacks in the league, there's that. There weren't a lot of quarterbacks in the draft. Sorry, so that you may be correct in that. However, let me see where he was projected. Okay, here we go. Yeah. So, what I'm seeing says he was picked number 40, which was overdrafted by. I wish I could find just like an archived mock draft, but because I don't know specifically. Um, Let me try this real quick. But and look, I want to say I'm a fan of Spencer Rattler, and I hope he succeeds. I just, we got Shuck, early in the second round, way ahead of where he was predicted to go. So I just felt like, I just feel like it, at some point we gotta, even if he wasn't, even if it wasn't overdrafting, I feel like we should give him a shot. Okay, so Kuiper had him late second or early third. So it wasn't as much of a reach as I thought. It was a reach, but it was not as much of a reach as I thought because he went early second.
Well, I kind of lost the stuff for Kuiper this year, the way he was crying about Shador not getting drafted.
Well, don't get me wrong. I always like to make Shea more. I'm just using Kuiper because he's all I've got.
Yeah. I've always just kind of been with Kuiper in his rankings and stuff, his projections, because all it takes is one team to fall in love with you, and it's not a stretch for them. If they think you're worth that pick, then that's that's your value. And I don't remember any of the ESPN analysts having a problem with Shook going to the Saints.
They had a problem. They were all surprised. I'd never even heard his name, like in the quarterback conversations. So his prospect grade on NFL.com was a 6.16, which is average. And it's the summary says good backup with the potential to develop into a starter. Let's see here. This should tell me his rank. It has every position but quarterback. I don't know why. That's weird.
I mean, I think he's in a good spot to develop with Kellen Moore. As far as when do you replace him or replace Rattler with Shuck and give him a chance? I don't know. When you feel like you're not getting anything out of Rattler, I mean,
really, as a fifth round pick, you say you don't see what your second round pick can do until you've exhausted everything from that fifth round pick.
I mean, if they were neck and neck, I mean, the way Moore talked about them going into the season, they were neck and neck. Rattler outplayed them just by a little bit. But this is a lost season anyway. So, see what you have with Rattler. Give him 8 weeks, 10 weeks, and then put Shook in, and then see what he has there. The thing I keep going back to is you don't want to put the quarterback in too early and get them beat up to the point that they're shook for the rest of the career. If you're having line problems, if you're,
well, I guess that's
issues,
just where we disagree, because I just don't think the Saints are having line problems. I think they had a bad line game.
I don't know. I was listening to Matt Flynn and Jacob Hester talking today, and they were talking about the line issues with the Saints and how it's an ongoing issue. How they're not a good line this year. Um, I have seen some holes that weren't opening like they should have for the running game, and you know, I've seen the quarterback having to scramble to make a play when he shouldn't. When we're not even blitzing, just a 3 or 4 man rush, and they're still getting to the quarterback.
Yeah.
So
Just real quick. So Tyler Shuck was a 6.16. Quinn Ewers, and you remember his awful combine that was like terrible, was a 6.15 pre-draft rating.
mm-hmm.
This is according to NFL.com, so I'm assuming that this is the composite score from the combine or something, because I don't know. It doesn't say where they're getting that, but that would be my assumption. So
Yeah, I don't know how much that they put into the combine. It's more about the chance to sit down with the players and interview them and get their physical measurements. But as far as you know, I mean,
well,
there's plenty of players.
I think they put a lot into it. Quinn Ewers dropped to the 7th round because of how bad he did in the combine. I think you're right. It is about the exams they give him and the interviews and the scenarios. But I think the combine is a lot more important than people like Shedeur Sanders, who are going to just not throw for it because they want to throw at their pro day to their receivers instead of the receivers they're assigned to.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a lot more important than people like that would have you believe. I mean, it really killed Quinn Ewers, and for whatever reason it didn't with Shuck, which is fine. I'm happy to see what he's got. I just want to see what he's got,
Yeah.
I'm not saying it has to be next week, but I just want to see it.
I also think that the Saints' first pick was Jackson Dart, but when he came off the board, they were like, "Well, who is our next guy?" And it was Shook, so they had to go with him.
Well, yeah, but if you're gonna take a non-quarterback in the first round, you're not gonna I don't know why they would have expected Jackson Dart to have been available at that point.
Some of the stuff I've heard is
because Jackson Dart slipped a little bit. He went 25th, and I think he was projected somewhere, late teens. And so he slipped a little bit at 25, and still, that's still 15 picks ahead of when the Saints had their next pick. So,
yeah, I had heard that the Saints were looking to trade back up into the first round to get him before the Giants did, or that's what they're exploring, and they didn't get it done, and the Giants did. So that's when they went to Shook. But
yeah,
I mean, I was pulling for Dart just because I was more familiar with this game. I liked what I saw from him, but I mean, I watched a lot of clips of Shook playing last year, and I was impressed with him. On the field, he had what I saw was good leadership quality. He had a good ball that he threw. So like when they drafted him, I wasn't upset with it at all. I was happy with the pick.
I wasn't upset with it. I just felt like they drafted him too high. Is all I'm saying. But I'm willing to trust the team. If there's a reason they drafted him that high, let's see it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've gone on a really long time tonight, but good conversations. And we got to talk about our Saints a little bit more than we have in previous episodes. So make sure you check out our other podcast that comes to you on Mondays and Thursdays. And that is the Alumni House, where we talk about the 5 Division 1A or FBS conferences that reside predominantly in the Southeast, being Conference USA, the American Athletic Conference, the Sun Belt, ACC, and the SEC. Thursday night kicks us off with the NFL. Who do we have in college tomorrow night?
I don't know, but I bet it's a Southern team because it's normally a.
Yeah, so Seahawks and
let's see, that's
Okay,
Friday night.
So while he's looking at that, Seahawks and Cardinals start us off on Thursday for Pro. That's 8:15 Eastern. And who do we have on ESPN tomorrow night?
It's the Army at East Carolina.
Army at East Carolina.
Yep.
So if nothing else,
Friday
watch
night
it for the Army.
And Friday night, there's 3 games on Friday night. Florida State is going to Virginia. TCU going to Arizona State. That looks like probably be a pretty good game there. And then Houston is going out to Oregon State. So
yeah, that middle game sounds really good. I don't know if Virginia is going to be able to stay in the stadium with Florida State. So
they're 3-1 right now.
Okay, but they're Virginia, and Florida State appears to be back to where they were a couple of years ago. So, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, it's a 6.5 point spread on that one. So not.
Is it at Virginia?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably why. All right. Well, we know you tuned in for the NFL, and we're digressing into our college roots. So join us tomorrow. We'll talk some more about that. You guys have a wonderful evening, and we will see you next time.